Hi, everyone. Welcome to another session of Patho Prep with Dr. Vargas. This slide presentation is on cell biology. From a faculty's view to a nursing student's view, what are the things that you will need to know when you study cell biology? As always, you will have a Bible verse from me that will help you continue to have that positive attitude and the faith that God has a plan in you. That's why you took nursing over other careers. Let's know the basics of cell components. In this slide, you see the different terms that is highlighted, and those are the ones that I want you to pay attention to. The nucleolus, the genetic transformation, peroxisomes, ribosomes, and lysosomes. These comes on the board exams with the multiple questions, so read through that and study very carefully. And the second slide has autodigestion. Autodigestion, think lysosomes. Again, I have highlighted with the bold letters, so you will know what to look for when these type of questions comes. They are looking for specific terms, how to answer those questions. And I have a clinical example here where the autodigestion is explained in detail. A lot of times the ribosomes comes with clinical examples where pancreas is brought up, insulin and digestive system. And this last sentence will help you answer those type of questions, okay? Here we have the slide that shows you the nerve cells when they lose their ability to replicate and divide, and it happens because of mitosis. And the major chemical components of all cell membranes are lipids and proteins. Know this, okay? Lipids and proteins composes the membranes of the chemical membranes of the chemical part of the cell membrane. Cell cycle, as we learned in biology, and now we are bringing it back to the advanced practice level. You have to know the 4 phases, the G1S, G2, and M. The S phase comes on exams more often, which is highlighted. Then we have proteins. I have explained in a very advanced level, so you want to know why they are important for the cells and what type of questions comes in relation to proteins. So examples will be channel proteins, carrier proteins, sodium, potassium pumps, and electrolyte imbalance. A lot of times active and passive transport related questions. You want to know what the activities of proteins and the effect on proteins on electrolyte and fluid imbalance. Keep in mind, active transport is where proteins facilitate the transport by diffusion. There's osmosis, diffusion. So proteins facilitate transport by diffusion, and the mechanism is through active transport. We have lipid bilayers and proteins. You want to know what lipid bilayers are. 2 types of membranes that transport proteins, carriers and channels that we discussed in the earlier. These has to go through a lipid bilayer. I have another slide that explains this further. So examples will be cholesterol is a bilayer. Proteins and glycolipids are bilayers. These are semi-permeable membranes that allows molecules to go very fast across the membrane, while other molecules goes very slow or may not even go. So that term is important for you to know if there is a question related to plasma membranes and bilayers with proteins. Proteins and cell. This slide gives you the peptide. A polypeptide is a chain of amino acid. That's the keyword, okay? Some polypeptide examples are the natriuretic peptide. When you see patients with congestive heart failure, we do BNP. It's a brain natriuretic peptide. And then it's seen in antibiotics like vasopressin and polymyxin. And these 2 terms, exocytosis and endocytosis, I highlighted. It's very important and very common on exams. And then we need to know the apoptosis. Apoptosis and complement cascades were already explained in one of my other YouTube video. I'm bringing it up again because it's important during cellular biology, which we discussed cellular death, inhibitory mechanisms and phagocytosis. And then I'm not sure if most of you have heard about a fluid mosaic model. It's important with permeability and impermeability related questions, so I have added that in here. It is a movement that helps cell membrane maintains its barrier capacity, where fluids are going in and out of the cell. And then we have protein channel, which is also a gap junction. Why we need to know this, it's explained here. The highlighted part is important on exams. And examples are hormones, and there is example with the thyroid gland, and also blood composition. Insulin is released in pancreatic beta cells in response to rise in blood sugar. So we have to know this because exams questions were related to these case scenarios where they posed a diabetic patient or patients with thyroid diseases. So you will be able to answer those type of questions. And then communication of cells. This slide will explain the chemical messenger, which is often seen as a ligand, and also G proteins. You will see that on exams. Major second messenger pathways. Once in a while, you'll see calcium abnormalities, calcium channel abnormalities, where the pathway begins with the binding of these primary messengers, such as epinephrine, acetylcholine, and hormones, gonadotrophic, oxytocin, thyroid-releasing hormones, and all of that. Cells and energy. This is kind of a repetition from the previous videos, but I'm bringing this up because of the glycolysis, oxidative phosphorylation, passive and active transport, and osmosis. You will see these questions on the boards. These terms are explained in the slide with the definition. This is just to refresh your memories. Make sure you understand the meaning and the examples of each of those. Then we have hypotonic, isotonic, and hypertonic solutions. This slide gives you a sample question, how you will see on board exams. And here's the explanation of what that means. And then a clinical example of fluid overload and isotonic water overload. Tonicity is continued on the slide. You will see questions on EKG changes, potassium imbalance, active action potential, depolarization, and repolarization. This slide explains all of that. Potassium and resting membranes, you'll see that often a lot on pathophysiology exams and also on board exams. For electrolyte imbalances, EKG changes affecting the heart, and also the mechanisms where the potassium ions are actions of the potassium on the resting membrane. And why the cell membrane is permeable to potassium. So this explains where we have hyperkalemia patients and what happens to the EKGs. So widening of the QRS complex and prolonged PR interval is one of them, and hyperpolarization is the pathological mechanism of the cell. Best of luck. Hope you enjoy this video and enhance your knowledge on cell biology. Have a blessed day.